Happy Yom Kippur, everybody. Today is smoky, man. Just kidding. Today is the day of the fast. I celebrated it with my Jewish brothers, my Jewish family, a couple days ago, 2 days ago now. Because they just go by the calendar. They have to schedule things ahead of time. But this is the only holiday, the Day of Shouts, the Yom Teruah, the Rosh, the Yom Kippur. Hello. It's late at night. I've been listening to a lot of stuff. I just watched a Kanye West interview with Tucker Carlson that was very surprising. So, last episode, and I call these episodes for some reason, I was really having a hard time. All of a sudden I was remembering my grandmother and how much I loved going to family seders and being a part of the family and the tradition of being Jewish. And I got real emotional for a second all of a sudden because I had felt this really warm feeling going to temple with my friend Josh Levinson and telling me to go. And I was like, whatever. But I met, like I said, these two brothers, Andy and Matt. I feel real happy. And I ended up just chit-chatting with Andy, and we've really connected. And I feel like, oh, man, I'm so happy about that. And I want to focus on the Bible here, obviously, but I kind of feel like it relates to temple or church business somewhat. So, the first coming of Yeshua the Messiah, he came as a suffering servant. The next time he's going to come as a conquering king when he returns. And he did promise to return. And that return could be any moment if you look at the biblical signs. And that was one of the things that he said, is that if you guys really knew the scriptures, you would know who I am. And my friend Mark was asking me, what's the difference between the Jews and the Christians? It seems the same to me. I don't understand. And then Andy asked me, he's like, well, are you one of those Jews for Jesus? And I never felt comfortable with that. Like I said last year, growing up, I never knew anything about Jesus, and we would never say his name. It's not like Hitler. We talk Hitler, we this, that, whatever, and everyone's Hitler. Oh, this guy's the new Hitler, that guy's the new Hitler. And it seems like there's a dichotomy. Jesus, ultimate non-sinner. Hitler, ultimate sinner, killer of Jews. And a lot of people consider Haman from the book of Esther to be like a precursor to Hitler. Except, you'd have to believe that Hitler actually died, which may or may not be true, in the bunker. And it's interesting. Like I said, we're living in interesting times. I want to focus on how much my grandmother meant to me and being part of the family, and how I got that family feeling back going to temple. And it was like the first time I felt like someone cared about these issues I've been going through here in town, and I felt like I related to the people there like family. And that's what this book is about. The book is a land grant, as I've been saying. This is a title deed to some land in the Middle East along the shores, the eastern shores of the Mediterranean. And that's why the Muslims are so adamant about driving the Jews into the sea and out of the land of Israel. Because they don't want to give up the land. And even though the Jews have a tiny percentage of land, I think the whole country of Israel is smaller than Los Angeles County. So that's amazing when you think about that. And surrounded by millions and millions of square miles of land controlled by the Muslims. And yet, the Muslims inside of Israel are the women who can drive, the people who vote in a foreign country, who aren't taxed as a dhimmi with a higher percentage rate because they're non-Muslim. And it's not just Muslims, it's a whole satanic crowd that worships not God, not the God of the Bible. And I feel like Kanye West right now, I've got to be very careful about my words and what I say. I don't think anyone, maybe 10, 20 people at the most, are listening to this right now. But one day there will be a lot of people who watch and listen to this, and I want to make sure I'm a good example. So, because of Andy talking to me, I really thought deeply about what Temple 420 is all about. Like I said, my cousin Matt helped me start this years ago, and he was in it for the money. I was in it to spread the word. I want to make money too. I'm not against making money, but I really did want to spread the word. And I want to legalize marijuana. I thought, oh, this was a way to legalize marijuana when I was younger, because if you came to believe, as I would say me and many of my friends, that cannabis is the biblical plant for the healing of all nations, and that God gave it to us in Genesis 1:29. Either you believe the Bible or you don't. So I believe that cannabis is the plant for the healing of all nations because of how many things it can do. Food, fuel, fiber, medicine, and it is the center of a spiritual life for many people. And I think in a previous episode, I always talk about the Native Americans of the Southwest, because I've spent a lot of time with Hopi elders like Dan Evahima, going out to his place and planting corn for him, and getting to meet his nephew, and getting shown like their really cool water sources and just really cool shit. And I spent a lot of time with the Havasupai Indians. Like I said, Roland Manikaja was really, as an adult, my spiritual leader who taught me how to pray and connect with the Creator. And the Supai called God Ba Giova. And Ba is man. Like the wee Ba is a stone man, like in the stone woman in the where the story of Lot, his wife turned to a salt pillar. So we is stone and Ba is man, and Giova, Ba Giova, is man's creator. It's exactly who we're talking about in the Bible here too. So even though they don't put suits on to pray, in that religion we humble ourselves. We just go in shorts with other men and hot rocks into an earthen shelter that encompasses water, green, red earth, and the stones, these different elements, and heat and fire. And we bring that together to purify ourselves through a process of sweating, which is a purification process because it removes toxins from your fatty cells and from your body, and it's helped me for healing. I haven't been to a doctor since I was 20. All I do is the sweat lodge. So, and I read Google and try and take care of my physical health, mental health, by eating properly. Oh, and speaking of which, so today is Yom Kippur. Now, When Jesus, Yeshua, the Messiah, came on the first coming, he came on Passover. He was the sacrificial lamb, and he fulfilled all of the spring holidays. When he comes for a second time, people have said, because he said he'll come like a thief in the night, it'll be like a wedding, a Jewish wedding, and it'll be at a time that no man knows the day or the hour. And this holiday, Rosh Hashanah, is the only Jewish holiday that no man knows the day or the hour, because it's only when two reliable witnesses witness the crescent moon, the new moon, in this month, that we begin the Rosh Hashanah, the new year, the Yom Teruah, that we blow the shofar. Oh man, you should have seen the rabbi blow the shofar. We do have a good rabbi at this Temple Shalom here in Wheeling. It's like surprising how awesome Wheeling is for such a little city. So, how much time? All right, done 11 minutes. I try to get the message in as quickly as possible, but sometimes it's about telling a story, wrapping the whatever. So the story I want to tell today is the continuation of the story I was telling the other day about family and about being welcome and about this book. Besides being a land deed, this land deed is promised to Abraham. That's the Abrahamic covenant. And then he's the father of many nations. And he only has one son. Well, he has two, Ishmael and Isaac. And Ishmael was his son out of faith. And Ishmael is where the Arabs claim their Abrahamic covenant, that the land belongs to them. And they're like, well, Abraham promised it to us. And I don't know if that's in the Quran. I don't know the Quran that well, or the Hadiths. But like I said, I have some Muslim friends, and I studied some of their books. And, you know, Muslim dudes growing up in America can be more American than Muslims, just like Christians in America can be more American, and Jews can be more American than they are Jewish. And then you come together and you do your church on Sunday, your high holiday stuff. And but the reality is there is a spiritual entity behind each thing. Just like each country has a spirit of a country, like America has the spirit of freedom, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And Mexico has a spirit of tequila, familia, vámonos, let's go have some time with the family. It's a very family-oriented culture, and that's why I want to harpazo there. Because I think it's a great place to raise my children, in a small community where people are related, they stay married, and they care for each other. My mom came to visit me in Mexico quite a few times. And when we lived in the city, she said, I visited you 10 times. I never met a neighbor. I visited you for 2 days in your little Mayan village. I met 10 neighbors. And that's the difference. In these small communities, you live a more biblical existence where you know and count on and depend on, and you're there for your neighbors. My Amish friend Eli had his farm burnt, not his farm, his barn burned down. $250,000 worth of material to rebuild this thing. No insurance. Burned down on Thursday. It was rebuilt better than it was before by Sunday, 4 days later. That's called Amish insurance, when your community comes out and they all chip in and they help out. And so family is important. And so Andy, who's a pillar of this community, said, you know, these people are maybe prejudiced. You come from out of town, you have got long hair, you look like a hippie, you're running Temple 420. You know, they're probably thinking, oh, this is some scam religion. This guy's trying to pull this off for the tax break, even though I've been doing this for 20 years and had no idea they were taxing me. So, what's the point? Andy helped me focus. He's like, well, what is your mission? And I really realized it's to reach young people, young men particularly, between the ages of like 15 and 35, that's my fan base and has been for the last since I've been on Weeds and all these cannabis movies. And what I've seen, and as I meet these young men who typically watch me, is they're from single mothers. They're all raised by single mothers. And not like I'm some manly man. You should see my buddy Mark. I mean, the guy's building scaffolding like 30 feet high to fix our church out of wood by himself. Like 5 people couldn't do the work. This guy's like the Samson of building. And he's going to have that thing looking beautiful, hopefully sooner than later. He's got family in California, but he was my neighbor in LA. I mean, these are like, I said, we're friends, we're family. You know, when his dad dies, I don't care where I am in the world, I'm going to be there for him. And, you know, and that's what real friends do. Same with my buddy Jono. I mean, I don't know if I'll be at Jono's for parents, but I mean, I'll be calling him. And when Esai's mom died, I tried to be there for him and be there when Iris was alive. She was a really nice lady, and spend time with her. You know, we have even John Flanagan. Fuck, it's so funny. All my friends are named John. John, Mark, Matt. I'm so glad I finally got an Andy in there. Anyway, so he said, what's your mission? And I'm like, it's reaching these young people, these fucking fatherless kids. And it's a nightmare. And even when, like, my dad and I now have a really close relationship, but we didn't for a long time, I felt very resentful because my dad was wealthy, but he worked all the time. He was always at work. He, like, made an exception on the weekends to come and do Little League with my brother and I. And, you know, he was able to provide for my mom in a way that she could stay home and take care of us. But I think children need their father around more. And I became a little resentful and had a hard time with my dad for a while. I'm wearing a jacket just because it's a little colder these days. And I'm not putting on any heat yet. Layer up, boys. 2 tank tops in the winter. Theo Vaughn, baby. Anyway, so this book, the Bible, is all about family. And the whole first part of the book, and they wonder, what is the Jewish part? It starts with Abraham, Isaac, and Israel. And Israel is the father of the tribes. Zebulun, Issachar, well, Reuben is first. Reuben, Zebulun, Issachar, Simeon, Asher, Dan, Gad, Joseph, Benjamin, Ephraim, Manasseh, Levi, Judah. I'm not sure if I mentioned them all or how many I mentioned, but these are his sons. And they are from 4 different mothers. Both Rachel and Leah, 2 sisters, and then Bilhah and Zephath, the 2 handmaidens. And yet all the brothers came together and were one people. And we were one family. And what happened was Joseph, they sold their brother into slavery, their own brother, just like Judas did to Jesus for 30 pieces of silver, except they sold him to the Edomites, descendants of the Ishmaelites, but living in the land of Jordan by Moab, who were traveling caravan salesmen heading to Egypt to do business. And they were jealous of their brother who dreamed of them bowing down to them. And he didn't mean it in a mean way, but it really happened. He dreamed it. And even his father rebuked him. He goes, what, even your mother and I should bow down to you? When he told the dream of the sun and the moon and the stars. And eventually it came true. They did bow down to him when they came to him for food because they were starving. Because Joseph was a dreamer, and after being in Potiphar's house and falsely accused of a crime, which he should have been put to death for, but Potiphar knew his wife was a biatch. And he really loved Joseph as a son, and he knew Joseph was touched by God because everything Joseph touched was blessed. But Joseph's life was still hard, and he went through all these troubles. And that's what happens when you come to have faith in Yeshua the Messiah and realize here was the physical representation of the Word on earth manifest as a human who could heal the blind, heal the deaf, make the lame walk, and raise the dead. Hello, I don't know. The Jewish people really believe in a resurrection. Ezekiel, 37, talks about the dry bones coming back to life in Israel. And that includes a spiritual revolution or revival of the people coming to the Messiah, searching for the Messiah and saying, "Blessed is he who came in the name of the Lord," which is Yeshua HaMashiach. So he came in the name of the Lord and was murdered for it. And like he told in the parable, imagine what the Father will do. He's talking to these Pharisees, these temple Pharisees were really rule keepers. The Sanhedrin were the temple keepers. And Nicodemus was one of those guys. And that's what's so funny. So the Jewish people I know don't know anything about the New Testament, really, or kind of what they've seen on TV movies and stuff. Like, well, it's all Jews. They look like us. Let me check it out. And then Kanye's talking about the Kushners, about they're a bunch of venture capitalists. They were fucking Trump over. In his opinion, he doesn't know that for sure, but his experience of these low-life scums is that they just are in everything for the money, for the buck, and that there's no spirit in there, there's no heart in there. And that's why I never wanted to be a not-for-profit church where they're like, there's no spirit, there's no heart in there, they're in it for the money. Not all of them, many of them. The ones that are doing drag shows in their not-for-profit church, okay, they're not teaching the book, that's for sure. And here's the thing, come to God any way you want, messed up, on drugs, he don't care. But if you really touched your heart and you're really moved by his sacrifice, by his strength, then your life is going to change. You're going to live differently. You're going to make money, but you're not going to be in love with making money. You're going to be in love with people and friends and your family and taking care of your family. And every time I say that, it makes me realize my son's in Mexico right now and I need to get down there to him. So I do consider you guys my family. I'm going to finish my 7 weeks here at the church. I'm doing 7 weeks for 7 years, and I'm focusing on this end time teaching, the Acharit Hayamin, and what Jesus came to do, the Messiah in the first coming, was John the Baptist came to baptize them in water, but Jesus came to baptize them with the Ruach HaKodesh, the Holy Spirit. And like I said, what's so funny about me going to the temple and hearing Elohim, Adonai, it's all fucking plural. Who are these other gods that we have? Because we say Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Listen, Israel, hear, O Israel, our God is the God, and he's only one God. There's only one, but yet we call him plural. And he says, shall we go down and make people in our image after us? Elohim, I am ending in his Hebrew, is plural. So I don't know. None of us is perfect. I'm doing my best not to sin anymore because my life has been changed by the Messiah. And I keep getting challenged and arrested, and I'm trying to handle it in a more mature Christian fashion with joy and count like you're persecuting me for teaching the Bible. Okay, like, sure, count that as joy for me, I don't care. Like, at first, I felt so offended and so pissed off that they could think I was faking the Bible to legalize marijuana. Now marijuana's been legalized everywhere. Hemp is legal. I have no question breaking the law. And now they're like, well, you're not for profit. Well, we don't like your name, Farm Direct. That's my LLC. We do business. Before I was Hemp Incorporated, doing business as Temple 420. Now I'm Farm Direct LLC, doing business as Temple 420, or promote, whatever, preaching as Temple 420. It hasn't been easy for sure, but I meet the coolest people. I have the coolest life. I have no complaints. I mean, I complain maybe all the time because I'm Jewish, but I try to go through these trials and tribulations with joy and sharing the word that as I understand it with you guys so that you can be saved from this BS and take care of your family and your friends. How much time did 20? Okay, so I haven't quite gone over 30 minutes yet. Anyway, I'm so grateful just for this opportunity. And part of what helped me overcome, like, because I became a believer in Yeshua, my family very much, especially my Uncle Jack, he was like, how can you, I heard that, do you realize how those Christians have been killing us for years? And I'm like, Christianity is really just another Jewish sect or cult. And if this book is a land grant, and Yeshua really is the Messiah, which I know he is, then the Christians, the real Christians, understand this is a land grant and this is their inheritance too. Not only the word that helps build community, but the promise of the land. That's all of our land. And I personally think we need to go take that motherfucking land, just like the early Israelites, and not get caught up in idol worship and interbreeding with the Canaanites. But it probably sounds like I'm promoting some kind of genocide, and they'll say I'm a homicidal maniac. But God gave it to us. Let's go follow his commandments and get our land. That's all I'm saying. I'm happy here. I love it here. I have my own land here. I'm committed for 7 years, guys. Here we go. Wheeling, West Virginia. But in the meantime, I'm slipping away to go take care of my kids in Mexico. You take care of your friends and family. God bless you guys. Thanks for listening. Craig X, Temple 420. Woohoo! I don't know why I did that one. That's like the devil sign. I meant to do that one. Or this one, hang loose. Yaha, brah. All right, guys. Oh yeah, I'm fasting. I'm going to share this really quickly. I've tried to fast for Yom Kippur since I was a teenager for like 40 years, and every year I broke the fast. Sometimes accidentally, sometimes, oh shoot, I had to buy it, I broke it, and I'm like, F it, now I'm just going to go ahead and eat. So this year, or last year, I guess it was this year, last year, I actually did it. And what was amazing is I did have this really strong, powerful vibe, like, I'm amazing, my willpower. But when I really reflect on it and look back, it was like, no, I really heard from God. Because I still open the refrigerator 5, 10, 20 times a day, and I usually would grab a snack, or I would drink water because I'm thirsty. I smoke and I get cotton mouth, and that little voice inside my head said, "You can go 24 hours. Don't worry, you won't die. You'll be happy at the end." And so I had the willpower because that voice kept reminding me, kind of like the same thing with our tzitzit. It has supposed to be a representation of the Ten Commandments. And this is what the woman touched on Yeshua's robe when she wanted to be healed. She knows, if I could just touch the hem of his garment, well, really what it said in the Hebrew, if I could just touch his tzitzit, then I knew I would be healed. Because this represents the Ten Commandments, or supposed to remind us to follow the Ten Commandments. Anyways, stay blessed. Temple 420, we're out of here.